This is part 4 of Building Giig, the devlog series that follows me day to day as I attempt to build recruitment software that competes with the Goliaths of the industry. So I'm starting this week's video on Tuesday. Yesterday I had some windows being fitted and I couldn't make videos yesterday, so here we are. Yesterday though, just sitting on the sofa, head down, got on as much work as possible. I did some changes to the CV piles in. I did some last minute changes for our push that went up today, and I did some and I fixed one pretty big bug. So with that bug, what basically happens is every time Luke tests, he tests our payment system to make sure payments are successful with the change to the code and things like that. And what was happening was the code was kind of like upgrading your account and chucking you out. And Luke thought that was a feature because he was thinking, hey, you get logged out, you log back in, and all of the new features are available to you. And he thought that's kind of how it was supposed to be. And then when I saw it, I was like, no, definitely not. You shouldn't have to be kicked out of your session for those things to happen. So it was a pretty big bug that I kind of felt like we should fix now that I was aware of it. And it was definitely a bug. So I kind of spent a lot of yesterday doing that, trying to work out why upgrading your account kicks you out. But I managed to figure that out, get that pushed, get that tested. We were happy with that, ready for today. And then today we did a push that was the pages, the off-canvases to pages, which we've run through in this devlog series now for the past 3 videos. And prior to that there was a change to search as well, where we were introducing new Boolean search features to find your candidates and contacts quicker, things like that. So that's all gone up, and then kind of just dealing with the aftermath of that. Sometimes users find bugs that we don't find in testing as well, so that's kind of been a little bit today. So this is how this week's looking for us at the moment. Obviously we've done the push this morning, which seems to be relatively successful, minus a few little bugs that have come in. Did the upgrade bug that I mentioned, and then the same 3 tickets, the same 3 items are going to remain on the list for a long time as we go through this CV formatting sprint. So that's kind of what we've got on our plate at the moment, like all these things, and like the last 3 videos have shown. But that can change, more can get added to that, and I mean, I'm just hopeful we make some decent progress this week, basically. Now, talking about decent progress, I mentioned that I managed to get a little bit done yesterday. It's pretty much a good chunk of today is gone as well, and I've managed to spend some time on it today. So I thought I'd just take you through where we're at with it, with the CV formatter. So this is currently what it looks like, and basically I think from last time that the last time that I showed you, I've just got a couple more controls in here. So this layout's very similar to it was before, and then in here there's a heck of a lot more controls. So you can change the color, which I showed you before, but now you can also change the size of the text, whether it's bold or normal, its alignment, and then a font type as well. So there's you can't unfortunately you can't see the font on the screen recording, but you can see that the font changing here as well. So I've then added a couple of extra settings down here. So we've got the company logo. I can make it larger. You can see that the company logo increases as I change that, and decreases. Obviously it still looks really bad and basic, and like having to scroll down here to change something, to then scroll back up here to see what happened, so see what changes are made, is not the best. But we're still in the stage of building every feature out. So for the rest of the day, perhaps into tomorrow as well, I'm going to continue to add new settings down here, so that the whole CV is completely customizable to however somebody wants it to. And then from there, that's where the real complicated stuff happens, where we need to consider like the usability of it. How do we save the PDF? How do we save this view into PDF so people can download and send in emails and things like that? All that will come. But my main priority right now is to create the controls that will style out the CV, and then we will work on the usability, the experience, and then the features beyond that. So it's now Thursday morning, and I completely missed recording yesterday. Yesterday was a complete bust, basically. So I think I said on Tuesday on a video where I said that like sometimes users using the platform, they uncover bugs and issues that we don't find through testing, and that was kind of the case yesterday. So I come in yesterday morning. There was a few issues from the day before and the night before that needed addressing, and therefore I was like, okay, I'll get on with these real quick, finish them off, push them up, get them fixed, and then move on to what I actually want to do today. And that kind of just never happened, basically. I managed to work my way through most of them, or a few of them, relatively quick, without a problem at all, and then I got caught on one for basically the rest of the day. The issue being that connecting an email, you weren't able to connect your email, which was a bit baffling because that code has not changed for ages, and it's not been a problem for us for a long time, so it was a bit weird. And the reason it was also quite tricky to debug, basically. So when you connect an email through, so we've got connections at the moment through Outlook and Gmail, allowing people to connect their 365 and their Gmail or G Suite addresses. So what basically happens when you go through that process, you get like a one-time code that's really short-lived. Basically, you use it and it kills it, so that you can't reuse it ever again, which is fine for security, but an absolute pain in the ass for debugging, because it wasn't like I could save the code, save the settings, and then change my code, and then rerun the test every time. In order to test everything I was doing, I then had to disconnect my email from the system, reconnect it again, see why it didn't work, try and debug it a little bit better, and basically I had to go through that process for the majority of the day in order to work out what was going on. And the issue wasn't actually a problem. It was more of just a front-end view bug, if you like, where it was just showing a blank page instead of a connected to your email message. And I now understand why that is the case, and it's kind of a part of a bigger issue that's not breaking for the platform. But I now am aware that if I ever do that, the short polling again, where I reuse the code to see if an email's connected, if I ever use that method again, I know that I'm going to hit this problem again. So whilst at the moment I kind of understand the issue, I've applied a fix. Next time we come to use that method again, we will also hit that problem again. So at some point it will require some surgery and will require a proper fix. But until then, the fix I put in place will be fine for its process, because it's just displaying a connection message in the end of the day. Like, it's not that important. But like I said, if we reuse the process, it will need like a proper workaround or a proper fix. So that was kind of that. And then by the time I managed to fix that, work out the problem and things like that, it was 3:30, maybe even 4 o'clock. So I got obviously onto the CV parser, but by then I was kind of furious, disappointed, annoyed at the day, and I just kind of wanted to get on. Didn't want to get distracted with videos and things, so that's why this video updates come in at Thursday morning. But today looks pretty good at the moment so far. So I'm going to get on with the CV formatting stuff, and then I will come back with an update of where things are at the end of the day, and hopefully we've made some decent progress that will allow us to take shape of the whole feature, and then you can kind of see where we've got to, and then we can get into more complex stuff kind of into tomorrow afternoon, into next week as well, because there's some complex bits that are coming up and some bits that are kind of unknown at the moment that need working out for experience, for user experience and user interactions, things like that. They're either going to be hideous, or we need to work out how to make them nicer. So that's all to come. Sorry for not having a proper update yesterday, But hopefully this makes up and explains kind of why I didn't want to take out time from the day yesterday to do a video. Okay, so back with an update then on where things are with the CV formatter. I've managed to spend a relatively good chunk of today on it, which is nice to actually have some focus time with it. There's been a few cases throughout the day we've had to drop into different bugs and different things to figure out, but all in all, I would say the majority of the day has been spent making some actual progress, which has made a nice change from what we're used to over the last couple of weeks. So if I come into the example I've got running, you can see from here that this CV is, the same as what we got before. But if I open up this layout and style, there's now a heck of a lot more controls in here, and they all do something to make it kind of like you've got control over what everything looks like in here. Obviously, a lot of it I've already showed you with like these colors and things, but there is some more going on. And everything looks a bit bad. So as you can see by where my mouse is here, like this drop down that's got XS in it, like means nothing. But you can see that when I change it, it changes like the thickness of a border at the bottom here. So you've got a couple of options. You can then change the color around. So you've got control over a few more bits now. And then if we go down here, we've got like, I think I showed you where the logo is. The company name, you can change like bold, whether it's in the middle, different font types as well. So if I made those changes, you can see it makes it change there. And then you can control everything about it. So we've got the job title, the candidate's name. So if I just kind of play around, get some different settings in here, you can see that everything kind of makes sense. So you can see that I've made those changes, and it drags through all the data. Right away down then to kind of like the sectors. So like each of these blocks is a section, sorry, and then you can change like the border that goes in the middle, the color of the border, how much space it gives it. So that gave it a lot of space. That's quite a short amount of space. Things like that. You can even change these date wraps. So let's make this a solid color, and then I can change this like white in here. So there's a lot of customization, even down to like making the font bold, changing the font type, and the font size. You can even have square edges, or slightly rounded, or pill shaped there. So there's loads of different options that I've kind of built in here. And it's kind of, so they're like, I've just taken away the border around these boxes. We can change the color of different bits. This line here. So there's a heck of a lot of different things that have gone on, and different changes. And now that I think I've got like all the settings down here on the right hand side, obviously it looks absolutely hideous and it's an absolute nightmare to work with, but I think this gives us a good foundation of like, this is the main functionality of our CV formatter. This is how our users are going to style it and to make it their own. And then from here we can move this layout and style section into the settings so that people can create their own defaults. And then once they've created their own defaults, every single CV they come to generate will automatically have their default settings. And then once that's all in place, we can then start kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty about how we generate PDF, how we generate these into PDFs, how we generate a redacted version, and how obviously, not obviously, but through the system you can send emails as well. So we want it to be, when you send the candidate to a role, that it automatically attaches their person's CV. At the moment it can automatically attach a person's CV, but it attaches the one that you've uploaded. So the thought here is like, what if you wanted to upload the branded one or attach the redacted version? Then you need the ability to do that as well. And when at the point in which you click the button to send the CV, it needs to be able to attach it and generate the PDF on the fly, because these changes need to be live. The last thing I want to do with this is in this display section. Like I said, all this is going to probably change for the final version anyway, but what if you wanted skills at the top, professional summary underneath? I want there to be a way to either from this left hand side to be able to drag and reorder, or from the right hand side up here to be able to drag and reorder these around, so that you can kind of customize the structure of the CV to the way you want it. Maybe you want education at the top, maybe you want skills, maybe you want tags, I don't know. But giving the users the control is the plan here. So that's the next step. I'm going to spend the rest of the day trying to get the sections to be movable, and then we move into tomorrow with a couple of those other bits I mentioned. Come the end of this week though, come the end of tomorrow, we should have kind of the main functionality down on styling your CVs, and then next week we can move into the function type thing of making them actually usable for the users. So that's the update then for today. I think that's some good progress finally. Yeah, I suppose let's see where we get to tomorrow with it as well. Right, we're coming to the end of the week. Managed to spend a bit more time on the formatter. Not a huge amount of progress. It's a bit annoying progress sometimes with some of these things where you seem to make a lot when you're making big changes, and then when you're making really tiny updates and moving things about, nothing seems to progress, even though you're doing little tiny bits. And there's a saying that the first 95% takes as long as the last 5% in these things. So yeah, it doesn't actually feel like much has moved, but I have worked on it. I've moved code about, I've tried to make it efficient, I've played around with different things. So that's kind of where we're at with it. I can show you what I've done, even though progress is minimal, but I've now got this reorder section on this right hand side, which basically just allows you to drag these around. You can see that skills jumped above, I can drag education to the top, things like that. And then what that will do is that will allow people to create the structure of the CV in a manner in which they want. So that's kind of the only real addition to this. There's been a couple of bits in here. There's, like, as I spoke through it with Luke, we decided on a couple of settings that didn't need to be there, or needed to be have a few more options. So they were added, tidied up a few bits. There was things like on these titles to ensure that they're always in the middle of the icon, separating the icons out. I mean, these are blurry, but these heading icons up here are now completely separate to these body icons, so that you can have the ones at the top show, but the ones in the body you could hide, for example. So that's what I mean by things change, but not a lot happens. Like, not a lot visible happens. And then around that was kind of just a complete structural shift around how the code handles the output of the CV formatter. And the reason why I did that is basically for the ordering of it. So when you reorder, rather than rebuilding the whole CV again, because that would be like compute heavy. So instead of rebuilding the whole CV every time you reorder it, now it just moves the blocks. So in order to achieve that, I had to rewrite most of the structural side of the code. But that's kind of how these things come about. So when we build features like this, I like to build it in layers. So that's why you can see that it looks rubbish at the moment, and I'm building on it bit by bit. So obviously we start with the very basic, and as we build more things in, I then like to go back through and refactor pieces of code so that they're as efficient as they can be. I'm not saying I'm amazing, but when you add layers and layers and layers, you then realize in what structure it actually needs to be. So that's kind of an overview of my day so far. Now, when we go into this, what I want to do now is, if I just bring back the professional summary to the top, I want this to be editable inside this CV, so that you could type here. Like at the moment, this just gets it from this info tab, which is this block that's blurred out here, but it just displays it here, and I want to be able to edit it in this box or in this section, and it also change on the info on the info tab, and the exact same the other way around. So like if I make changes here, I want it to automatically display on the CV. I mean, actually the best way for that would be if I move my face, so you can see the name here, Steve Was. Like if I actually finish his name, Wozniak, it doesn't change here in the CV. So that's kind of what I want to do, is I want to make it so that these changes, no matter what you make, display live in the CV as well, so that you get that instant feedback that things are happening. The same with, we've got our email address and phone number up here, which is also blurred out down here. When you make changes to this, we don't want people to have to click save and refresh the page in order to see it in the CV. We want them to be able to get that instant feedback that it's actually making the changes. So that's the next port call. I'm going to go away and do that now that I've done the reordering. And again, once I do that, I think there'll be some refactoring that has to go into it as well, because fundamentally it's quite big to be able to make live changes. So it no longer is a display of text. It's now an input box where you can type. So it does change structurally, and then you kind of say, like, when you want to export the CV, you don't want to export the text box, for example. You would just want to export the text. So yeah, that hopefully that makes sense, but it changes again the structure of this whole thing. So I reckon once I've got those boxes in and I've built that layer on top, I might have to refactor some bits to ensure it's super efficient. But yeah, we're finally making some progress. We're getting there. So that's where we're at with the CV formatter. Another big week with it next week. But that's kind of where I'm going to leave it for this week. Now, I've been a bit crap in making the videos and keeping up to date and giving timely updates and things like that in this week's video, and that's just the way that these things go. It's just kind of part and parcel of the job that things change all the time, and I've gone through that in all the other videos. But also, first and foremost, like, this is the job, and the job is the priority. The videos come separate and second to that. So when I'm a little bit late in making a video, or like I think Monday and maybe even Wednesday this week, I didn't do a video at all, and that's because, like, it's head down, it's work is priority, and video comes second to that. So that might be why they're a little bit bitty, and I want this whole process of recording videos to be efficient and not to take away time away from the day, or as minimal time as possible anyway away from the day. So we will work it out as we go, but that explains a little bit why these videos have become a little bit bitty, and as we progress and as we create more videos, I will get into a cadence and I'll understand the most efficient way to create them and the best way to put them together so that they're interesting and so that you actually get value from them, or at least are entertained for the time in which you're watching. Hopefully that's the case up to now, but if not, then obviously the plan is that I'll continue to improve, continue to find efficiencies, and continue to try and make entertaining content at the same time as working and showing what I'm doing, so that you understand the process and so you understand everything that goes into it and what it takes to build a product like this, basically. So I'm going to sign off for this week then. Like I said, it's been a bit bitty, but we go again next week. So if you want to leave a comment, then please do. I'll reply to it. If you want to start your comment with "Hey James," then I will take your comment and I'll reply to it in a video. And if you want to catch the guys I work with, which is Luke and Andy, they do a weekly podcast called Giighire. and you can catch them on your podcast player or YouTube, which I'll put a link in the description. But yes, apart from that, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's video, and we'll go again next week.